Hello friends, welcome to RHCSC training series. My name is Ram and this is session 11, Linux shells, console and input-output redirection. This training is brought to you by skillpedia.co, a platform for teaching and learning online. If you are an instructor, join this website to teach online. If you are a learner, join this website to get the training on the latest technology. We are on section 3. I covered two sections, section 1, section 2, section 3. In this section, the entire section is about fundamental command line skills, and there are 6 sessions in this series for fundamental command line skills. Total there are 10 sections. So this is fundamental command line skills. In this session we will learn about Linux shells. Next session will be standard commands, then management of text files, then online documentation, then networking configuration and troubleshooting. In this section we have these 6 lectures. Agenda of this section is review RHCSC exam objective with respect to this particular section. Then Linux shells, virtual terminals, GUI interfaces, regular and administrative users, text streams, input output, redirection. This is what you will learn in this session. What will be covered with respect to RHCSC exam in section 3? RHCSC exam has this expectation that access a shell prompt and issue commands with correct syntax. Use input-output redirection greater than, double greater than symbol, piping symbol, error redirection, etc. Create, delete, copy, move files and directories. Create hard links and soft links. Use grep and regular expressions to analyze text. Locate, read and use file documentation including man, info and files in the directory user share doc. Handle text files with standard non-GUI utilities. Configure networking and hostname resolution statically or dynamically. This is what will be covered in entire section 3, that is 6 lectures. Linux shells. What is a shell? Shell is a user interface. Means you as a user interact with Linux using the shell. Also use as command line interpreter. Interpreter which will translate your commands into machine understandable system calls and then send these system calls to kernel. Kernel handle those calls, get the job done and revert back with the results. So shell is the interpreter that allows you to interact with the operating system using various commands. With the right file permissions, you can set up commands and scripts to run as needed. Linux shells can process commands in various sequences depending on how you manage the input and output of each command. The way commands are interpreted is, in part, determined by variables and parameters associated with the shell. Very important points about the concept of shells. There are many shells available in Linux. The default shell is bash or born again shell. Number of other shells are also available. With appropriate RPMs, user can start with any of these shells. And these shells for individual users are configured in etc passwd file. The bash is based on command line interpreter originally developed by Stephen Bourne. KSH or Korn shell developed by David Korn at Bell Labs in 1980s to incorporate the best features of the Bourne shell and the C shell. Then TCSH, enhanced version of Unix C shell, and ZSH, sophisticated shell similar to Korn shell. Let's understand, install these shells and configure some of the shells for a given user. So I'm working on the system. This is RHEL 8 machine. Let's see first what all packages are installed with respect to these shells. If not, let's install some of them and let's configure a shell for a given user, and let's create a user to verify that. First, we can check which ZSH. If it is not installed, we'll get the message. So ZSH is also installed and it's available under user bin ZSH. Similarly, KSH, there is no KSH in any of the path given, which means KSH is not installed. TCSH, not installed. So we can install this with the DNF install -y KSH and TCSH. These two shells will be installed. Both the shells are now installed, and we can jump to any of these shells by typing the name as TCSH. Now I am working into TCSH. From here you can jump to ZSH, you are working into ZSH. From here you want to go to KCSH, you are working into KSH now. From here you want to call SH, you are working in SH. These shells are called from the existing shell. So I have to exit from here to go back to my con shell, exit from here to return to ZSH, exit from here to return to TCSH, and exit here to return to my original born again shell bash. Cat, in fact you can use tail command, tail /etc/passwd. Here you see existing user and the shell. Shell is configured in the last column of the record in this file. So for example, sang1 user, default shell for sang1 user is /bin/bash. If I want the KSH to be the default shell for the user, I can configure KSH and I can change this path. How to check what is the path? I can use which KSH. That will give me the path of the KSH shell, and I can change this path for this user to configure the default shell for the user sang1. So whenever the user will be logged in, he'll be using this shell. I can also, as a root user, I can directly edit this file etc passwd. As a super user, though it is not the right advice, I will not advise you, but yes, if required you can change this. So I can type user bin KSH. So now onward, whenever this user sang1 will log in, he'll be using KSH shell. That's how the shell works for the. These shells are located into bin directory or user bin directory, as we have noticed. The most direct method is to change the default shell into etc passwd file, as I demonstrated. For example, for this user sang1, the user bin bash was the default shell, and we can change this to KSH by identifying where the KSH is exactly located. It was under user bin KSH. Based on the actual path, you change the path and you are done. Of course, you also needed to install the corresponding RPM. As you might have noticed, the KSH was not installed by default. TSH was also not there by default. So we had to install these shells before changing the default shell for the user. Virtual terminals. If you have access to the console of an RHEL system, you can use 6 virtual terminals to open 6 independent login sessions. However, only one virtual terminal is activated by default. Virtual terminals are defined by the file etc systemd lognd.conf file. You will see an option called number of auto VTs, which define maximum number of virtual terminals, and virtual terminals are associated with the device files devtty1 through devtty6. Let's look at this file etc systemd login and see this value and try to change the value and set the number of terminals. So let's look at the file vi/etc systemd slash logins login.d.conf, and here you see under login the first line is n auto vt is 6. By default only one was allowed because this value was commented. If I uncomment this, you can configure 6 or maybe 5 terminals depending on your need. And there are other settings also which we'll discuss from time to time, but right now this is a number of virtual terminals. I can configure 5. By now I've done 5 virtual consoles configured. I restart my machine and I'll be able to log in with 5 different virtual terminals. Alt Control F1 through Alt Control F5. One is already enabled. So F1 take the GUI. After that F2, F3, F4 and F5 will take the rest of the 5 terminals. When GUI is configured, it takes the dev TTY1 as I said. You can use Alt Control F2 key combination, move to second terminal and so on. As of now we will not see it because we are working into the GUI and I have just configured it, so I need to reset my machine, reboot my machine in order to configure these virtual consoles. At the text console, if you don't have GUI, if you are working in multi-user or multi-user text mode, then you will see the text message like this: Red Hat Enterprise Linux Server, and the kernel and the system name and the login, and here you type your user ID and the password. On a graphical login, if it is enabled, which requires the installation of GNOME Display Manager or GDM, which is more intuitive, where you will see the username, and this not listed means you want to log in as root user. You have to select this non-listed in your graphical interface. So this way you can log in from the GUI terminal, and this is what I have on my system, GUI on my Red Hat 8. Once you are logged into the GUI, access to the bash shell is very easy. If you are using the default Wayland Display Manager, where you see only one option, that is called activities, click on that, you will see the terminal option. You click on that, it will open the terminal window. So activities, terminal, traditionally administrators have to work with from the console. Right click on the terminal support. This is the right click menu, context sensitive menu. Right click on it and you see you can open a new window or new tab also. Opening of additional terminals in different windows or different tabs, as you have seen. It also supports copy and paste as needed if you are working in multiple terminals. Regular and administrative users in Linux. What you can do at the command line depends on privileges associated with the login account you have logged into. When logged in as a regular user, you will see the dollar prompt. Like if I am logged in as Sangwan user, I'll see dollar prompt. So this is standard for regular users. But if you are logged in as an administrator, you will see hash sign or pound sign. Text streams, very important concept. Linux uses 3 basic data streams. Data goes in, data comes out, and the errors are sent in different directions. These streams are known as standard input for stdin, standard output, that is std out, and standard error, that is stderr. There are file descriptors known as 0, 1 and 2 for these standard streams. 0 for stdin, which is default, you don't have to specify 0. 1 is std out, you don't have to specify 1 also, they are understood. However, if you want to specify standard error, you have to exclusively mention 2. Where and when, I will just explain that with example. Input comes from keyboard, as I said, so standard in, std in is associated with keyboard. Std is for terminal, that is standard output, and the error goes to the screen terminal itself. So standard error also goes to the terminal. However, you can redirect them. You can redirect each of these streams to go to or from a file. For example, if you are using MySQL, and world.sql is your sample database for MySQL. You can import these MySQL world.sql file directly into MySQL using input redirection. This is redirecting the input. So MySQL -u username -p password, and this is taking the input from default other than the default, like I'm taking the input from world.sql file. Standard input can also come from left side of a command line as well. To scroll through the boot messages, you can combine dmessage command and less command with a pipe, like dmessage less. Alright, let's take an example. Let's go through some examples of piping and input redirection. Let's create a file, vi names.txt, just to take an example, and I'm typing some name, Ram and Sangwan. Then I'm typing Yao Poteng. Then I type another name, and then the third one. These are four members, four users in this file. Now I want to sort these files. Sort. By default, if I don't type anything, sort will take input from the command line. However, I want to take input from names files. So I can use this names.txt. This is input redirection example. So it has sorted the names. Similarly, ls command, ls-l, this will send the output to the terminal. I want to send the output to a file. I can use to the sort command, let's say to sort command. Sort. So this will send the output to the sort command. It will sort the files on the first character. You see the first character. So they are sorted on the first character. I can specify the field specifier also. Dmessage. And the piping symbol, less or more, you will see the message in the sorted order. So input redirection and piping symbol, two options we have just. Following command uses output redirection symbol to send the output to the standard output to ls to a file, let's say file list. So ls, then this is output redirection file list. However, if the file list file exists, it will overwrite the file. You can add standard output to end of the existing file with a double redirection arrow, which is ls double greater than symbol file list. This is called appending. If you want to save the error messages of a program into a file, redirect the error stream. Now this is where I was talking about the default concept. 2 greater than symbol. Now 2 greater than symbol will do what? It will redirect the error messages, and that is why output redirection did not have that 1 greater than symbol. However, you can write that, but that is default. So 1 greater than symbol is standard output redirection. 2 greater than symbol means error redirection. For example, if you have some commands where you want to send the error messages to null device or black hole, you can use 2 greater than symbol. And you want to combine both of them, error messages and the output, to send to a single file, then you can use ampersand greater than symbol. Ampersand will append or combine the two. Let's understand error messages example with examples. Now let me try to just find a file, switch to root user, switch to Sangwan user, so that I work as a Sangwan user, and I'm using KSH. Now I try to find a file, let's say find under root directory. I want to find file with the name names.txt, and I want to print that. Alright, and I use this placeholder In fact, I don't need to place any hold or any. And I'll see permission denied, some error messages are coming. I don't want to see these error messages. I'm pressing Ctrl C to stop this command. This is generating the error messages and sending the messages to this file only. Right? I can do the same command as root user also. So find, and then in root directory -name names.txt -print, and now I want to send the greater than symbol errors. This will not display errors on the terminal. However, the genuine output or the known errors or the standard output will be displayed on the terminal. Errors, whatever they are, they will go to the file errors, and that you will see. Now let me see if I have some errors. You see there was one error I got. So this was the error which went to error files and the output came to the terminal. So that's how you can send the error to a different location. That's all for this session. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel for the entire training on RHCSA and RHCE. Thank you.